What's up, everybody? My name is Dina Watson, and I'm the co-founder of Moving the Military. Our mission at Moving the Military is to provide top-notch, first-class, world-class education to our agents that service military buyers and sellers, but also our service members and their families so that they can make informed decisions whenever they get to their next duty station. Today, I'm going to go through with you a first-time home buyer boot camp. We have this thing broken down into 4 sessions. So today we're going to get into session 1, and session 1 is all around the VA loan benefit and what you've earned, how to protect it, and raising the standard for home buying while you're in the military. Now, I have one disclosure to make, actually 2. Number 1, I am a licensed real estate professional in the state of Tennessee, although the things I'm going to teach you in this class apply nationwide, no matter what. We're not talking about buying or selling in a specific area. So everything that you hear today is going to be high level, generic conversation for no matter where you live, you need to know this. If during this session you have questions on a specific location, I have a network of people all around the country who are licensed in pretty much any state you could move to, and I could connect you with those folks to help you walk through location-specific things. Now, the second disclosure, I am not a mortgage lender. So when I talk to you about the VA home loan, I'm talking to you about it through the lens of a real estate professional, not through the lens of a mortgage professional. So make sure that if you have mortgage questions, like specifics on rates or discount points or closing costs or any of that, reach out to me. I'll connect you with one of our approved lenders who is going to help you for free. Like, there's not a cost to the consultations when you're working with us. So I can help you no matter what, but I do want to make sure that we make that disclosure up front. So today we're talking about raising the standard in military home buying, and I want to talk about why this matters. One of the things that just hurts my heart, I've been in real estate for 15 years, and I've serviced almost 1,000 families and service members in the military by helping them specifically directionally buy a home or sell their home over the last 15 years. So I've seen this time and time again. I've also seen it go wrong, and I want to help. Okay, so we're charging you nothing for this class, but I think that the biggest tragedy in the military home buying and selling space is that people are not well educated before they go into the largest transaction of their life. And so one of the goals that we have for moving the military and the content we're sharing here is that we solve that problem and we fix that, because we want you all to be educated before you go into any real estate transaction and know what questions to ask. There's I think a common misconception that when someone calls themselves or positions themselves as a military specialist, that there's something they've had to go through or learn in order to do that. And that's just not the case. You can call yourself whatever you want in real estate. So we want to make sure you all are armed and well informed before you go into these transactions. Now, we also want to give you a space to have a strategic conversation before talking to a salesperson. I think everybody knows that people who are in real estate are salespeople, and they make money on a direct, proportion to how many people they serve. And so we want this to be an unbiased, we don't care if you buy or sell with us space to educate you first before any pressure is applied when you need to go find a property. And that leads into the third thing. The third standard we want to raise here is the standard of serving you before selling you anything. Our goal here today is not to sell you anything. 49 out of 50 times, I'm not licensed in your state. I'm only now licensed in the state of Tennessee. In my past, I've been licensed in Colorado and North Carolina and have worked in both of those markets as we have personally PCSed around the country. But today, I'm here just to give something to you. So here's why we exist. Number 1, at Moving the Military, we believe that you deserve better. Now, my co-founder and I are both in real estate, but first and foremost, we are both just like you. I'm a military spouse. My husband is still active duty, and my co-founder is a 20-some-odd-year retired command sergeant major who has done everything under the sun. We've walked in your shoes in a lot of cases, and we understand what it's like to uproot your life and move all the way across the country, not knowing anything, not knowing who to trust, not knowing the neighborhoods. And that's really, quite frankly, terrifying. Even being in real estate myself and doing it myself, it's kind of a lot to take on. And we believe that you deserve better information before having to make those decisions. The other reason we exist is there's a ton of bad advice. 9 times out of 10, when I'm watching something on the internet as it pertains to real estate, it's terrible advice. The bar to get into real estate is very low, and the cost to stay is also very low. And so we want to make sure that you're armed with good, real, sound, experience based advice before you go into these transactions, because it costs you real money and real peace, which, if you've ever served, you know there's not a plethora of both while you're in the military. There's not a lot of peace and there's not a lot of money. So we want to make sure that you have certainty within your walk through real estate, and we start that process with you. So the third thing is, this benefit is too valuable to misuse. There are some things, and we'll get into that in future sessions, that you can do that actually cost you your VA home loan benefit. And we want to make sure that you avoid those things. Now, let me also share with you what makes Matt and I different. We are not tied to one market or one agent. We have a network nationwide of real estate professionals that we have personally vetted. And I'll tell you, Matt and I have led in companies, we've led in the military space in real estate. We've taught a lot of classes. We've seen the inside of a lot of businesses. We've personally coached thousands of real estate agents throughout our time. And what makes us different is that we've actually gotten in to the hearts and the minds and the processes and the strategies of hundreds, if not thousands, of real estate agents around the country. And we have hand selected only the best to actually partner with us to do this. Moving the Military is our brand. This is our business. This is our mission. And we were really specific when we chose who to partner with in each military market, that we found quality people who communicated well and had a ton of love for our service members and a high level of service. And almost every single one of them is military affiliated themselves. And so there's not a single place in this country that you could move that we don't already have somebody vetted and ready to help you. So the other thing that makes us different is that we are education first and connection second. We have two goals here. Number one, we want to educate you and help you get to know what you're looking for before you have to act. And number two, we want to be a connector where you don't have to necessarily trust a random person that you find on Facebook. You get to know us and our mentality and our heart for service through the content we'll share with you here. And if you trust us and you believe that we have your best interest in heart, we'll do a free consultation with you where we can talk about what you're looking for, and then we can connect you with the right agent to help service your needs. Now, the third thing that I think makes us different in a real estate transaction, if you're coming to Fort Campbell, which I live at Fort Campbell, so if you're coming to Fort Campbell and I'm a real estate agent, the only way I win is if you buy a home with me, okay? And that quick win a lot of times causes people to compromise things. And I don't mean shady, but I mean like cut corners or not give all the information. We are not worried about a transaction because we're not asking you for money, right? So you're not paying us for any of this advice. You're not paying us for the consultation that we'll do for free with you. You're not paying us anything. So what we really, 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 really covet here at Moving the Military is the long-term relationship with you. Our vision is that we grow old together, like for real. I know Matt's older than I am, and I always joke with him that he's the grandpa of the group, but I'm 38 years old. And I know that if someone trusts me right now and they're on their very first PCS, they're probably in their early 20s, which means that they've got another 15 to 20 years of moving around in the military if they stay till retirement. I want Moving the Military to be your one source of information, and you continue to come back to me because you trust me. And you continue to use the agents that we've partnered with because you trust me to make sure you're partnered with the right person. So I'm looking for, and Matt is looking for, long-term relationships with each one of you, not a short-term quick win in a real estate sales transaction. We want you to move all 5 or 6 times you're going to move and do it through us because you trust us above all else. So we believe that we have 3 roles here. Number one, we are neutral. We do not care if you're buying a house or selling a house. We want to educate you anyway. We want to be the trust bridge with all of your decisions. So I want in 15 years, when you're thinking about retiring, for you to come to me and ask about financial advisors, ask about ETSing and how soon should you buy your forever home before doing that. I want you to come back to us forever. And so we are looked at, and the way we look at ourselves is this trust bridge between each of your decisions at each of your moves. You're coming back and letting us help you with that because we've done so well by you in the past. And the third thing, we think our role here is to guide you through the process, not push you through the process, because, like we said before, we're not looking for a transaction from you. We're not looking for that quick win. We're looking to build trust with you over your whole career. And we want to guide you through that process and based on whatever your goals are to help you make the right decisions. Now, a couple of things to note. We were built because too many military service members and their families are rushed into decisions. Too many are given half truths or, quite frankly, complete lies about the VA home loan benefits. And we want to help you get matched with agents who are actually good at this. You would not believe, or maybe you would, the amount of real estate professionals who market themselves extremely well, but have such surface level expertise or knowledge around what we do here. And we do not want that for you. Now, here's something that we hope comes out of these boot camps that you're going to go through. We hope you get clarity around what matters and what you should think about and all of that. We hope you're confident or more confident in knowing what you need to look for as you go forward. And we hope that we can help you with a plan that still works no matter when you PCS. Our mission is simple. We want to raise the standard of service in the real estate industry for military professionals and their families, and the professionals who service them on the real estate side. Now, I want to warn you about something. The VA home loan, as we continue forward, is not just a product to be looked at once and done. You can use your VA home loan more than one time, and we'll talk about that later. But when and if to use your benefit should be a strategic conversation, not a shortcut, because how you use it matters. There are a few rules for how you can use your VA home loan benefit. There are a bunch of myths that we will bust at some point later. There's also a link on the website where you can download where it says VA home loan myths, and there's, I think, 6 or 7 of them that we've put on there. But we also want to change the way you think about buying a house while you're in the service. I can tell you from personal experience, buying a home at every duty station was probably the smartest thing my husband and I have ever done for our financial future. And we've used the VA home loan every single time. Now, there are rules for how to do this, which is what I hope you trust me and Matt with. But specifically, I think it's important to note that your VA home loan benefit could be a wealth strategy if you're willing to go slow enough and play your cards right. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So one thing we know for sure is that most VA buyers are overly misinformed. I was going to say myth-informed, but what's the difference? Same thing. They are getting in touch with people who are recommended in Facebook groups. You're getting in touch with people who are the loudest on the internet, or they understand the algorithm and how to get it in front of you. And I'll tell you, bad advice that you're given, or maybe that you're watching and consuming on the internet, cost you not only time, but it costs you money. And there are myths about the cost of the VA loan. The other thing that we feel like buyers are misinformed on is ignorance to the things you have to pay for and the things you don't. There are even people who say you don't have to have an appraisal with a VA loan, or you don't have to have a home inspection with a VA loan, and they're not the same thing. So we hope to help you with that. So some things to note on here. Many families lose deals. You overpay or you limit your future options based on these three things. Bad advice, ignorance to the cost, myths about how you can leverage your loan. And this is not because of the VA loan. The VA loan is probably the best tool you have from your time in service other than your retirement check in the future. But I will tell you that most agents are not actually taught how it works. So they only have the level of understanding for whatever they've currently done up to that point. And they don't really seek out information or how to, be educated on this in the future. The other thing that's interesting is the MRP, which you'll see a lot of agents, not a lot, but you'll see some agents who have what's called the MRP outside of their name. It says military relocation professional. You don't learn the ins and outs and all the things about the VA loan when you take that. So even that is not helpful. Now let's talk about what the VA loan benefit really looks like. And I'll remind you, I'm a real estate agent. So if you want in-depth, we have that on the website too, but this is not that. I'm giving you a boot camp overview. Okay. We're not going into the details. The VA home loan is backed by the Veterans Affairs Department, right? So this is the first myth. The VA home loan is not issued by the VA. So a lot of people come to us the first time they're going to buy and they're like, I need to call the VA to get my VA benefit. No, you don't. The VA home loan is issued by any bank or lending institution that offers them, which most of them do, and it's guaranteed by the VA. So you will not speak to or discuss anything with the VA itself throughout this process. You're working with lenders just like you're working with agents. So it's really important that you get a lender that understands the VA benefit and not just somebody who works one or two here and there. Like I said, they're issued by private lenders and it's designed for stability. So the point of the VA home loan and the reason you don't have a down payment, which we'll get into another time, is because the VA itself wants to guarantee or back the loan once you get it from the bank, which just means that if you default, 100% of that comes back to the bank. They're not necessarily, for example, when you do a more traditional type of lending, like, like FHA loan or conventional loan, you put down a deposit, like you put a down payment down, 5%, 20%, whatever. In the VA home loan, you don't have to do that. The VA guarantees or backs that mortgage, so to speak, and we won't get into all that today, but just remember a couple things. The VA does not lend money. The VA guarantees a portion of the loan to the bank in case you default, and the guarantee from the VA reduces risk, which creates better terms for buyers. Now, we'll talk about in another session why sellers are a little weird about VA home loans, but we're not worried about that right now. But your VA home loan is quite possibly one of the most powerful loans in the United States of America, and it gives you more power in your pocket than any other buyer if the real estate agent understands the home loan. You do run into a lot of agents who don't understand it, and so they are buying into or believing the myths about the VA loan, and it causes problems, which we'll talk about later. But there are a couple things that we think position the VA home loan as the most powerful option. Number one, you have no PMI. PMI just stands for private mortgage insurance. For example, back to the example of the 20% down. If you put 20% down in a conventional loan, you don't have mortgage insurance, which is the insurance for the mortgage company in case you default. You don't have that. If you put down 5%, you do, in most cases, have private mortgage insurance. And that's just think about car insurance, right? Like you can own a car, but we're going to insure the car by paying a monthly fee in case something bad happens. But if nothing bad ever happens, it's like you just took that money and like flushed it right down the toilet. So when you have a VA home loan, no matter how much you put down, you don't have any private mortgage insurance attached to your monthly payment. Now, oftentimes the VA home loan gives you a lower interest rate than any other traditional type of financing. And of course, all of this depends on your credit score and whether you qualify for that or not, which brings up another point that's not on the slide. You may have earned the VA home loan benefit, but your credit may disqualify you from getting the loan from a mortgage lender. So just because you've gone through and served your country and you have the option to use this loan does not automatically guarantee that you qualify financially to obtain the loan yet. So just remember, there's two separate things we're talking about here. Whether you have the benefit, which is the VA home loan option, versus whether your credit score and your income and your debt qualify you to take out the loan. So it's always there, but you still have to credit qualify just like anyone else. So that's not on here, but something to note. Now, the other thing that we feel like is really important is that the guidelines are a little more flexible for us using a VA loan than they are for another type of loan, a more conventional type of loan or FHA. And we believe that it gives you a little bit more protection. So those are the key highlights for why using the VA loan may be smart. Now, here's the other side of it. You can have the option to use the VA home loan and then, quite frankly, see that something else might be smarter for you at that point, which is where our consults come in and would be handy. But you don't have to use it. You can, but you can also use a regular old Joe type of home loan. You don't have to use your VA loan if you don't want to, but we believe that it is probably the best option in most cases. Now, another myth that I hear all the time is that I'm going to wait till I retire to use my home loan benefit. A lot of people believe that you can only use it once. That is so far from the truth. You can rinse and repeat and restore and reuse your full entitlement and your VA home loan benefit over and over and over and over. My husband and I have done it this way. We own 7 properties around the country from all of our PCSs, and all but one of them was purchased using his VA home loan entitlement. And so please understand that using your entitlement does not knock you out from using it before ever again. I've heard a lot of people say they're going to wait until they get their forever home and they're going to use it on that. Well, you don't have to wait. You can do both. You can use it now and then. Now, it has to be used wisely, though, because there are rules to using it. There are rules to what you have to do if you already own a home and want to use it again. This is where our free consultations come in, and we can help you and bring in one of our lenders if you want just free advice. But please understand that it's not a one and done. That's one of the biggest myths out there. Uh, I will tell you as well, how you want to use it strategically over time is really important to know as you're starting out. Because if I know you're going to buy one home and then you're going to sell that house and buy another one and sell that one and buy another one, and you're only ever going to have one, our strategy session is going to be different for you than it would be if we knew you were going to buy multiple over time. And we would be having different conversations about rentals and all of that. So the more that you can share with us on these consultations, if you choose to have one, the better off you'll be, because we can pass that down to the agent that you'll be working with, and then all of us can stay on the same page. We want to be seen as your guide through this process. Now, let's talk about some of the bad advice that I see floating around the internet that I hate. Number 1, VA offers are not competitive. This is absolutely not true. I will tell you, the house I'm sitting in while filming this was a multiple offer situation in 2021 when you had to give your firstborn to win a house. We won, and we have this property on a VA home loan. So in the most competitive time in recent history, when we were trying to beat 4 other buyers and we were in a highest and best multiple offer situation, we used a VA home loan and won, because the thing that is important to know is the rest of what goes into your offer is more important in a lot of cases than the type of loan that you're using. So if you're using a VA home loan and you're asking a seller for literally everything and you're not, paying for anything and you just want it all, well, some people might blame that on the VA loan, but really that's a bad strategy. Okay. So we'll talk more about that. If you ever want to have a strategy sesh with us, we'll go over all of this. Second thing that we see a lot is people say VA appraisals ruin deals. That's not true either. There are appraisals for all types of loans. Now, can appraisers cause problems? Yeah, of course. But so can agents mispricing homes. A lot of times what happens when you have appraisal issues in a home, um, like I told you, I'm not trying to sell you anything, so I'm just going to be honest and like raw and maybe a little confrontational. A lot of times what happens when people say that the appraisal killed the deal was you had an agent who took a listing that was overpriced just to have a listing. So they let the seller overprice their home. And then you have another agent on the other side of the deal with a client who really wants that property, who says something like, well, let's just win the offer and we'll deal with it on the back end. But if those two parties, the seller who really wants a certain amount of money and the buyer who's just really wanting to get the offer, to be won, if they're not on the same page, it can kill the deal, because you've got two people with the wrong expectations coming to dance in the same dance floor. It doesn't work that way. So the appraisal itself didn't kill the deal. What killed the deal was missed expectations and proper or improper expectation management with the seller to begin with, or with the buyer, right? The other thing which kind of segues is the sellers hate the VA loans. And I will tell you that's not true either. What I have found happens most often is misinformed, poorly educated real estate agents talk their sellers into hating VA loans because they don't understand them. So they're vilifying the home loan benefit because of piss poor understanding, to be honest. And they're causing these sellers to not accept you guys' offers because they're not educated. And I hate to say it like that. And quite frankly, you can get me for it later, but that's what's happening most of the time. So no matter what type of loan you're using, a strong offer is going to win every single day. Like I told you, we used a VA home loan and beat out 4 other people for the house I'm sitting in now. And as a reminder, appraisals are about value. They're not about killing a deal. All the appraiser is trying to do is to set a price for the property that's fair and equitable for the buyer. So we don't have price gouging. So we don't have, a real estate bubble like we once did. The appraiser's job is just to issue an unbiased, I'm not attached to either party value assessment on what that home is worth. The deal killing, it really happens with the people involved in the transaction, the buyer, the agent, the seller, their agent. Like, that's where the deals get killed. The appraiser didn't do anything except his job or her job. So problems come, like I just said, from weak representation on the agent's side, not the home loan benefit, not the appraiser. Now, let's talk about where VA buyers can get hurt. And this would be one of the other reasons we really want you guys to take us up on our offer for free consults, because this is, and I will say this before we get started. If you're already under representation with an agent, like you're already working with an agent, we can't do the consult. If you come to us before you work with an agent, we can. The reason for that is because we actually have laws and rules that govern how real estate agents can work with the public. We cannot sign cross. So what we can't do is basically go behind another agent's back and have a strategy session with you. That's actually illegal for us and could cost us our license. So if we can get to you before you get to the agent and help you understand these things before you accept representation by somebody you don't know, you're more informed and well equipped for that conversation. But we can't do it the other way around. Just want to make sure that's clear. So where VA buyers tend to get hurt, the risk is not the loan. Like I said, the risk is the strategy. You can over purchase or pay more for a home than it will be worth in the market coming up. Now, no one has a crystal ball, okay? But for example, I'll use my own self as the example. When we bought this home, we had to go over the asking price by almost $40,000, which means that I had to pull 40,000 real green dollars out of my bank account and put down in order to win this offer. And I looked at my husband and I said, I want you to know we are overpaying for this house if we don't plan on keeping it long term. And we will be upside down if we go to sell it in a few years. Now, I bought this house in 2021. It's currently 2026 as I'm filming this. And actually, I bought in 2022, 2026 as I'm filming this. My house today is worth very little more than it was when we bought it. And we're talking 5 years or 4 years later, right? The appreciation kind of halted as the market has gotten soft over the last few years. And so if we were to go to sell and we had all the fees to sell our house, we would be upside down. Now, we knew this going into it so we could make an informed decision. We wanted this neighborhood, we wanted this school district, we wanted to be in this part of town. Like, we didn't care because we knew we were keeping it long term. That's our strategy, right? So as it says below, we have a long-term wealth plan for using the VA loan. So taking a hit on this one home for 4 or 5 years for the market to catch back up was not a problem because we were working off of what we were wanting for the future, not what we were wanting right now. Now, another place that you run the risk is if you have poor guidance. If agents don't understand market conditions, how appreciation works, how you could be, moved on a dime and how rentals will work, if they don't understand the strategy behind this, you might be being guided the wrong way, which is why I said get to us before you get to an agent that you find on Facebook, because we can help you know the questions to ask. Not saying not to use that person, but we can help you with knowing what you should be talking to them about. The other thing that I think is important to know where buyers get hurt, especially VA buyers who will be moving again, is that you're buying things based on emotional decisions. When you are in the military, okay, for however long you plan to stay in the service, your home purchases have to have a level of strategy behind them. Because I could find the most beautiful home. I saw this happen when I was working at Bragg for a while. There was a couple who bought the absolute most beautiful log cabin. And it was gorgeous, like literally gorgeous, in the middle of nowhere, an hour from post, and the spouse did not mind driving it. He was like, whatever, I don't care. I want to live here in his little oasis. They actually foreclosed because they could not sell that house. They weren't my client. A friend of mine was sharing this with me. But they actually foreclosed when they PCS because 3 years later, they didn't have enough equity to play with the price to make the price sweet enough for a buyer. And almost no one who was buying out there was looking in that area. And so they bought a house based on an emotional pull that was basically unsellable except for a very few select people who would want something like that. And it bit them. And when you foreclose and you have a financial hardship, you kind of ruin your VA home loan benefit for the future until you get those things cleared up and can get it restored. So just remember, if you're buying a home while you're in the service, you have to find an agent or a consultant like us that is strategically based in their thinking. If you have an agent talking to you about how fun things are going to be and how beautiful it's going to be, and that agent does not talk to you at all about the strategy behind the property, you need to find someone else to work with. That is all I'm going to say. Like, because it's really important. When you only live somewhere 3 to 4 years, you won't have enough equity to just throw money at a problem in a few years. You won't. You'll be selling for what you owe. And that's fine if you're prepared for that. But if you're not, it's kind of hard pill to swallow. So just remember too, and I made the note below, payment comfort is a bigger deal than approval amount. So before you go into this process with anyone, you need to ask yourself, what overall monthly payment are we comfortable spending? And then have your lender and your agent partner tell you what price of a home you can't go above. Because you could be pre-approved for so much more than you want to spend or that you feel comfortable spending, and you may make poor decisions. So first and foremost, always, especially while you're in the service, how much money can you allot to your housing needs? And then reverse engineer the price from there. Okay. So just remember, we're here to help if that's something that you need. So just throwing it out there. Now, this is not just about your very first house. VA home loans are a long-term wealth tool. I've already shared this with you. You could turn them into future rentals. That's been our gameplay, is like we will live in it for a few years, and then when we move, it just becomes a rental and the tenant pays the rest of it off. So we have 7 properties that we will have paid on each house 3 years out of a 30-year note, and a tenant's going to pay the other 27 years of our 30-year mortgage. And at the end of it, we'll cash it out and run off to Mexico. No, I'm kidding. But you get my point. Once these places are paid for, the monthly rent rate is 100% cash flow to your bottom line. So it'll help position you in a more wealthy place when you go to retire if you start early. It also will help if you understand your exit strategy if things go poorly, which is why it matters to work with a strategist, right? Like somebody who's not super short-sighted on what you're buying and can tell you, is this part of town or is this neighborhood or whatever easy to rent? I had a conversation with someone earlier who owns a home at Fort Hood, and Fort Cavazos now, I guess, and she has had that thing vacant for 6 months without a tenant. 6 months. Now, I'm not licensed in that area, so I don't know why it's been sitting for 6 months, and I'm not her agent, but she was telling me that that place is sat vacant for 6 months. So in that case, do you understand what you're getting yourself into, and do you have an exit plan? And some of those things can be headed off at the beginning of like, what parts of town are easily rentable? What parts of town closer to these installations have a history of pretty stable rental incomes and vacancies being low? All of this stuff matters, right? Back to why I said get a strategist. Something to note. Military buyers, much like yourself, I would look at this as if you are on loan. So instead of like renting your house, just know you're personally renting the location to be able to sit in that house, but you own it and you move. Right? So just something to think about flipping it upside down. Buying without an exit plan creates traps financially that you can't get out of without wrecking your financial future a lot of times. So if you're really smart and you're working with someone who's really smart, we can help you plan 5 to 20 years in advance, and then we can help you follow the plan. Like I said before, we are offering all of this free education because we really want to help people understand the wealth path of using your VA loan as a long-term tool. And we want to be here for you for that whole time to help you as you move. My idea of the best thing ever would be that when you get your orders, we are your first call because you've gotten so much from what we've shared and we've not done you wrong, and you call us before you call anyone else because you trust that we're giving you sound advice. That's like the best thing, and that's what we're here looking for. Now we're getting close to the end, and I want to share this with you. Confidence before commitment. If you are not confident in the decision that you are making, sometimes it's better to rent for a year and then go back to the conversation about home buying a year later. If you are in a bind and you are not sure, okay, get more education, get more clarity, get more of a strategy, and take a knee if you have to, and go rent for 6 months to a year. while you figure it out. Every PCS doesn't go smoothly. I remember when we came here, my husband came home, threw the paper on the desk, and said, "Oh shit, we're moving to Campbell. We have to be there in 30 days." When we had just bought a house because we were told we were staying at Bragg forever. But they switched our orders and we had to move our whole life in 30 days' notice. Now, if I weren't already pretty strategic and we didn't already know our play and our wealth strategy, we would have probably rented for a year to figure ourselves out and take a breath. And that is okay. Like, that's totally fine. Clarity beats urgency. Education is going to beat emotion every single time. And strategy beats shortcuts. The boot camp, this is session 1. The 4-part session is about slowing down before you need to make these decisions and speed up, because purchasing homes the right way should not feel like chaos. Now, if you want to, the next session is going to be financially, are you ready to do this? And some things to consider that might help you out. So watch session 2. And if you want to have somebody run through this with you, like I have said time and time again, we are here to help you if that's what you need. You could call us, text us, send a smoke signal, whatever you want to do. But we want you to know your numbers before someone else decides them for you. Now, session 2 is going to break down things like credit, income, debt, financial readiness, savings accounts, where buyers make mistakes, how to avoid those mistakes, and to be quite frank with you, how you don't need perfect finances. You just need clarification on what the path is actually going to be. All right, so as I told you, my name is Dina. I'm here to help you. Matt is here as well. You've seen us all over the Moving the Military website. And if you need something, we want to be your partner and we want to be here for you. I will see you in session 2.